Hi guys, I hope that you are all doing well. Welcome to Authentically Maskless, where we talk about removing the unlimiting beliefs and the mask that you adopted throughout of the years that is not you, that is untrue. And let's begin. Get yourself a hot cup of coffee or something to drink and let's begin. We're going to talk about the law of assumption, spirituality, all of this stuff. The video that I am going to make now at the moment is going to talk about unconsciously manifesting um, health illnesses. And so this is like the fourth time that I'm recording this video, so I do apologize. Hopefully, this will be the last one. So, just bear with me and thank you for being here. If you would like to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and let's begin. Now, I did tell you guys about my introduction, a little bit of the background story about my life, my story, and I would like to start with that the story about my father and how he manifested consciously or unconsciously his own illness and death, and I would like to build onto that with another story that is a good example of it, and also all about my own experiences. And then later on, I would also want to tell you guys about other stories that I've also experienced, but it's just that I can't talk about it right now because it's still on a journey of something personal, and also it's about um, other people, and I don't want to discuss it right now in the moment. But the stories that I'm going to tell you is experiences from people that I have in my life, but also um, about my own experiences as well. Let's begin. Okay, so my dad, when he was young, he told us we went to a lady that did tarot reading, tea leaves reading, and all of that stuff. And she told him that he's only going to live a certain time or age, and that he will die with he's going to get diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, and that he will pass away with certain age of certain age, whatever. And let's see. I'm just going to um, from what I think. I can't really ask him about it because he's not here to ask. So I'm just going to talk about the two possibilities that I think what happened. Now, unconsciously or subconsciously, my dad could maybe perhaps believe it as to be true, and he adopted it as a true belief, and he lived his life according to the person that is going to die a certain age way, right? Or he could have maybe subconsciously not been aware that he maybe perhaps feared that he is going to die or be diagnosed with a life-threatening illness that is going to cause his death. So fast forward to the future, my dad was diagnosed with pancreas and liver cancer when I was about 6 years old. And they originally told him that he would only live for 6 months, but he ended up living for 3 years with this cancer. Um, what I think, like anyone else, if you get diagnosed with cancer or whatsoever, you don't necessarily want to die or you don't necessarily want the illness. But with the same conviction they had, or he had, with knowing that he would get some illness, he was actually a very negative person in some certain way. So he didn't have the conviction to believe that he would be able to, heal um, and be cancer free. But I think there was this willingness of living that made him live with this cancer for 3 years. I remember before he passed away early that night, he was actually sitting on the bed with me, my mom, and my brother. And he told us that we need to remember that he loved us very much and that we always need to remember that. And the funny thing is, my mom said afterwards that in that moment, in that night when we talked, she actually thought that he say these things as if he knew he would have passed away. And I remember the night when I went to bed, I was sleeping in the room with my brother, and I looked out of the window into the sky at the David star, whatever star you would like to call it, the brightest star in the night. And I remembered I prayed and I asked God to not take my father away. And I remember the third time when I did ask God to not take my father away, I received this internal knowing and calmness that it is time that he wants to go and that he's going to pass away. And I went into sleep, and my dad actually passed away next to my mother. Um, he actually he, he vomited water and it forced him to suffocate it in his own water. So yeah, it was not a nice scene. But I was actually standing next to him while he was dying. And the fact that I can't remember it because my subconscious mind just cut out all this horrible experience that was happening in front of me. I remember when I woke up the next morning that I was in peace with the fact that my father passed away. I was not that sad or devastated as most of people would be. Of course, I was sad. Of course, I cried, and it was not nice to experience it. But I knew that he would have passed away, so I made my peace with it. So, that is not probably the best idea because a lot of people would say that it's a coincidence or it was part of the life journey or whatsoever. But let's go to the next story and then you can decide yourself. I'm going to tell you the story about my grandmother. Now, my grandmother, she's a lovely woman. Bless her heart. She also did pass away a few years ago. And she was very good to speak things into existence, especially with illnesses that was not even exist. And I remember that my grandmother had this tendency to go to the doctor for her checkups each and every year for breast cancer. Now, I am a true believer. If you search for something that is not there, you're going to find it. That is why it's very important to be very careful for what you ask for, what you search for, and what you're looking for, because you might just get it. And I remember she also had this tendency to talk about how she is always in pain, not feeling good, not feeling well. And then she'd go to the doctor to do the mammogram, and then the test comes out, there's no lump. But she always talk about there's a lump in the breast and that they need to look after it because it's possible cancer that can maybe, create it or whatsoever. Fast forward 7 years later, guess what? My grandmother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that breast cancer she lived with for another 7 years. years. And like anyone that get diagnosed with cancer, you don't necessarily want to have it. But she didn't have the mindset the same way she did when she actually spoke and speak the cancer into existence and looking for it to heal the cancer away. She actually lived with it for 7 years. The cancer went through. It was breast cancer, then it went to skin cancer, and the skin cancer actually just took over the organs. And long story short, she passed away. And that is actually a perfect example of when you are looking for something that is not there and you get it. Because she was searching for something and she got it. And this is not a coincidence. Guys, you all can see it in your own life or experience. Even just a simple fear of something that might happen is also an indication that you can speak it into existence. Now let's go through to the next story. I'm going to tell you my personal experiences and what happened to me briefly, and I'm going to try to make it very short. Okay? Now, I was born premature, 27 weeks. I was 800 grams. I was 30 centimeters, maybe, not even. I don't even remember. I was very, very small. I could have fit into a small shoebox. While I was born, I was not alive yet because my lungs and my kidneys was not properly formed yet. So I was technically actually dead. Only on the way to the hospital, my lungs started to dry up and I started to cry, and I was in the ICU for about 2 or 3 months. They're in ICU, and I always struggled with health issues, and due to trauma, my body responded to manifest illness in my body with like fever, bronchitis, and all of this stuff. Okay, so fast forward, I was 17 years old. I um, fell pregnant with my second boyfriend's child, and he was a heavy, hardcore drug user and probably did so as well. And I remember that when I found out that I was actually finally pregnant, that I cried and I prayed that I didn't want this child. I found out that I was pregnant the Monday, and then next week Monday that morning I woke up in extreme pain, and my mother took me to the hospital, and I had a miscarriage. Now I was only 17 at that time, but I regretted that I prayed for it because I felt very guilty. And it was very painful, and it took me 2 years to get over it. That I've asked for God to take away that baby. Is that a coincidence? No. I got what I asked for. And I created that scene to play out. After 2 years, I've realized that it was maybe the best because the father was absent, and the fact that he did drugs and all of that, it was not necessarily the best idea to have a child with him. But yeah, anyway, that was one of them. Then, 2 years later, at 19, I got diagnosed with um, depression, also because my body reacted and I got sick all the time, and there was nothing wrong with me. It's just that my body created to manifest illnesses, and the doctor diagnosed me with depression. and I used antidepressants for about 3 years. Oh, yeah, about 3 years. And I remember that I was so fed up drinking medication to make me feel numb because I felt like a zombie and I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I was not allowed to just stop drinking that medication. Because if you want, with anyone that use antidepressants, that you need to like slow down um, the amount that you drink. You can't just leave it like at once. I did. I just decided I don't have depression. I'm sick of tired of this medication. I'm sick of tired of not feeling actually anything. I am going to just stop it. And so I did. It's 15 years later. I have no depression. I do feel like I have similar symptoms like someone that has depression, but I don't let it take over my life. I decided and made a choice, and I kept by my choice. I don't have depression. I don't even drink anything for depression. So yes, then I had experience due to my own past experience with my birth and the fact that I've lost my um, first child. I fell pregnant with my daughter, and guess what? Because of my subconscious belief that pregnancies are very hard and that it's a core belief that I had. I suffered with my pregnancy with my daughter. I had morning sickness for 24/7. I was I didn't have a very good pregnancy with her, but she was born healthy and good. Then 4 years later, I found out I was pregnant with my son. We didn't want another child at that time, me and my ex-husband. But I found out I was pregnant and I was devastated. I just didn't want another baby. So, before even this baby was born, or even before I knew I was pregnant, I didn't want this child. So, guess what happened? For 9 months, not even 9 months, my boy, I'm going to tell you the story. I've rejected subconsciously this baby before he was even born. And I've experienced a horrible, horrible pregnancy. It felt like that baby wanted to fall out of my womb for 9 months, almost 9 months. Until a point that I'm 27 weeks. See their synchronicities? At 27 weeks, my son decided that I'm going to go into labor. Even though he was not ready to come out, because he was still breech. He was not even in a position to, so that I can give him, give labor. But my body reacted and I got contractions and the contractions didn't want to stop whatsoever. And so I've almost had a miscarriage with him on 27 weeks because it's very, 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 very dangerous for a boy to um, get born in that time frame. So I remember while I was on drips for pain and steroids for his lungs and everything, they waked me up in the middle of the night because my contractions didn't want to stop and I was busy. I was ready to dilate it. and they say to me that, listen, this is we're going to need to do an emergency C-section. You need to fill in this form. This is to let us know that you understand that they are not taking responsibility if my son died or me or whatsoever, because at the moment it's either or me or him or both of us, because I can't guarantee anything. That is how dangerous the situation was. And I remember that in that moment, I decided that I am not going to walk out of this hospital without my son and without this baby. I want this baby and I can't leave because I need to be alive for my daughter, because I still have this baby girl at home that needs me. And I just made a choice that I don't care if I wake up, I'm going to have my son and everything is going to work out exactly how it should. And I remember I fell back asleep because the medication that they gave me made me drowsy. I was not really 100% aware. But 4 weeks later, my son was born. Healthy, premature, but healthy. And I have a healthy boy. He's turning 10, the 19th of August. So that is a perfect example. Even before I knew what I knew today, I had rejected my son. And that is what I caused my own horrible pregnancy before I actually, you know, but now I know that I've caused it. I had this horrible awareness about this whole thing, and I've caused almost to lose my son due to my beliefs. Then I have a wonderful two successful stories to tell you guys. Consciously manifested, and this is not with myself, but also it is a success story. I just was not consciously aware of my success then, but now I can tell you guys about it, and you can look back and realize that it is actually consciously a success manifestation success. Okay, the other story is last year my granddad, my stepfather's dad, was submitted into the hospital. He was very, very sick, that his lungs were starting to fail. And I remember my mother called me and said that it doesn't look good. And I just decided that I'm going to see him healthy, and I didn't settle for anything else. I didn't have any evidence that what I was doing is working. I just remembered that I saw him healthy and happy at my parents' house, and that my mother will tell me and call me that he was released, and that they are taking him home, and that he is resting and everything is well. He was submitted for 2 weeks in the hospital, where there were several times that they didn't think that he was going to pull through and live to see another day, but he did. And he's actually currently at my mother's house, probably drinking some coffee and all of that, and he pulled through because I just decided with conviction that I am not going to settle for anything less. And I just believe without seeing any evidence that what I'm seeing in my mind's eye, that it's going to happen, and it did. Second success story, consciously manifested, is my sister cancer scare. My sister, my mother called me 3, 4 months ago and told me that my sister They found cancer cells in her ovaries and womb, and that they sent the the tests to the labs to see if it's active cancer cells. And I remember that my mother, she wanted to talk about it and reasoning and say that we need to prepare ourselves for the worst and all of this stuff. And I remember I told my mother that she doesn't have cancer. And my mom wanted to reason with me. And I said to her, I don't care what you say. She doesn't have cancer. I don't see her with cancer, and I don't believe that she has cancer. The doctor is coming back and tell her that she's cancer free. And my mom wanted to reason with me, and I just decided, nope, nope, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't care what you're telling me, what you're saying to me. Because I told my mom, I know that we had bad experiences with people that we lost due to cancer, but my sister is not having cancer. I don't care what anyone is saying. She's cancer free. The doctor is coming back and tell us that she doesn't have cancer. And so I said it to my mom, and I also told it to my sister. I was very bold about it. And a few weeks later came by, the doctor received the end results, and guess what? My sister is cancer free. She has no cancer. She's healthy. Does she need to do her checkups? Yeah, of course, to make everyone feel happy and good about it. But I also just decided that she is not going to have cancer whatsoever, ever. I told her mother she's not going to have cancer, she doesn't have it, and she will never have it. And that is what I call conscious manifestation. To be conscious aware of what it is that you truly believe is true. So, I think I'm going to leave it at that, and I will talk about other illnesses that I personally also experienced in the next video. But I think for now, let's leave it at that. I hope that you all have a beautiful day. May you have a blessed weekend or week. And if you don't, oh sorry, that was my bad. If you don't, then I assume it to be true anyway. And remember, be careful what you talk with your mouth, what you say, what you think, what you feel, because what you are going to be conscious about, you are going to get it. So rather speak life into existence and not death. Speak wealth and health into existence and not illness and death, because we can get consumed so easy with negativity. Then when we get it, we want to change the story, but our awareness is still the person that actually have it. And then we struggle to recreate a new story because we are so consumed with what we're already experiencing. So may you have all a good day and a blessed week. Love you guys. Leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Tell me your success story, or if you have anything that happened to you that is similar. I would love to hear your story. Alright guys, have a good day.